Welcome one,
Hey,
welcome all to our special bullshit and bourbon, a Super Bowl edition. all, all of us decided to not watch, the foosball game and do this instead. How are you? How are you gentlemen doing this evening?
I'm doing wonderful.
What about you, Josh?
I'm doing great. Yeah, happy to
Awesome,
be here.
awesome. So
Hey,
this
What's up,
evening,
Deadwood?
oh, Deadwood's in. All right, what's up, brother? All right, so check it out. This is what's on for tonight, Deadwood. We got some Pendleton Midnight. Look to be good. Never had it before. And got this one. Never had it before, but love Rocky Patel's. So it's a Rocky Patel 60. And I'm going to spark that up here in a minute after I get through our little intro. So tonight we're going to talk about. Can you hear me? You guys hear me just fine?
I can hear you just fine.
Perfect. Perfect. I just want to make sure. So tonight we're going to talk about the difference between blockchain and crypto, and we'll also going to segue into and talk a little bit and expand on Taylor's mayoral race in McKinney, Texas. So right off the bat, I know foosball is the devil is of the devil. I ain't watching that. I ain't watching that trash. So yeah, um, one that has a lot going on for it right now is Ondo. It's a perfect example that I want to use to illustrate the difference between crypto and blockchain. So right off the bat, blockchain is the actual underlying technology or the software that is used in the different use cases. So in Ondo's case, that would be tokenization of real world assets. So stocks, bonds, treasuries, real estate, anything that is what's called illiquid or that isn't, like the value of it isn't readily accessible. It allows that to be put on the blockchain to where 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, those assets can be bought, sold, traded, whatever. Now, crypto or cryptocurrency is the token or what's called the gas that you use to pay the fees to use the technology. Does that make sense to both of you?
It does, but one helpful thing would be to really break down. Like, I don't know if I was trying to look on Ondo here to see if someone could see a visual because, like, as I've been talking to people about this idea, I realize how far people are even to understanding, like, using the word ledger. They don't even know what that means. So,
So a ledger is like an old style ledger was just like an accountant's book where he would, he or she would write down, who owed what to who. It was just a way of keeping track of who the debtor was and who the creditor was. Now, in a digital age, we don't need humans to do that anymore. And that's what blockchain is doing is it is allowing for a trustless society. You don't need bankers, you don't need stockbrokers, you don't need accountants, you don't need a lot of these things because the blockchain is secure and can record all of those things and automate all of those processes.
so
Does that help?
yeah, can you pull up a picture of just what a ledger would look like? Because you got to go basic here, man. This is like you got
I don't
to
know.
just type in ledger example into Google. It should pull up in images.
Blockchain ledger example.
It's gonna pull up a cold storage wallet.
Yeah, just have a cold storage wallet. All right, let's see what this is.
No, that's gonna be too. Just type in a ledger example, not blockchain one, so people get the idea of what just a ledger is.
All right.
There we go. There we go.
All right, let me see if I can actually blow that up. So, oh no, thanks. So this is an old style ledger here. I actually remember these books. If you ever watch like those old mob movies, like their guy that was always running the numbers and stuff like that had one of those. But this is basically what it is. Is it's just a date? Owner contributes cash to inventory and equipment. Cash $5,000, equipment $10,000, motor vehicle $22,500. It's basically just itemizing, what is, what money is being spent or lent or paid, whatever. That's really all it is. And blockchain just takes the manual processes out of it. That's, really is as simply as I can put it, I think.
Yeah. So why, like, maybe you could explain a little bit, why haven't we had this for a long time? Because it seems like pretty like, why didn't we just let people go to the bank and just like enter something into the computer and then it would put it into the ledger?
I think it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed much, Mike. There's still a bunch of gangsters and thugs holding those books. So
Very true.
You know what? You're not wrong, brother. You're not wrong. I'm glad you said it. So honestly, Taylor, I don't know. And the only thing I can think of is for the longest time and recently, banks have been fighting blockchain. Elizabeth Warren that claims that she was, fighting banks and big pharma and all this. She's been in their pocket and been basically using Gary Gensler at the SEC to go after blockchain technology and force it out of the U.S. because they know that's they have a monopoly. And with blockchain, they're losing that monopoly.
Well, before the current blockchain technology, the problem was lying. Like, someone could just walk into the bank or whatever and type in, "Oh, I gave you guys $600," and then never gave them actual money. So one problem before blockchain technology was honesty, like people actually doing what they're saying. Plus, what about withdrawing money from any system? If you don't have a middleman there, then someone could just go into the bank and take money out and not record that they took money out, And so,
that's the thing is the value has to be stored on the blockchain for it to be part of the transaction. So it's not like you could put cash in.
You're jumping down the road on people. They don't even understand the basic concepts. We got to start with the basics, because you start throwing blockchain out there and people, like, I did it this week. Like, everybody I was talking to,
how about you break it down then? Because it sounds like that you have, most of my experience talking about blockchain is with people that already have a basic understanding. It's other people, online like Josh and people that are already invested in it and they know the basics. I'm out in the woods. You're more in tune with the layman when it comes to crypto and blockchain.
Well, so the biggest idea is, okay, back in the day, you had to have a middleman. The middleman had to be the one exchanging and holding the money, because if you didn't have the middleman, then people could just be dishonest. You couldn't have like a public ledger sitting at some place and everybody just had access to it and could go write in it, because people would go lie and say, "I gave you $1,000. Look, it says on the ledger I did that," but they never actually did. So you had to have a bank, a middleman. Well, as we have progressed with technology, now we have the ability, with computers being the middleman, where the computer could take the funds and you enter it in, and it actually goes through and makes sure that either one, you actually did deposit that $1,000, and you actually got paid that $1,000. You don't need a bank to do that anymore. So blockchain technology was the technology to record all that information securely, and we call it blockchain. Like, that's just the name we gave that technology.
And it's a decentralized ledger, right? So I think each bank, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's only one of them, or each bank or entity kind of has its own, so they're not really connected anyway, and there's not that viewing window to see. You kind of have to trust the whatever is centralizing that system to be honest. And
the centralized and decentralized aspect is that the definition is that somebody controls it. So like if it's a bank's personal blockchain that like JP Morgan makes their own blockchain, that would be considered centralized because they have full control over it. Whereas something like Bitcoin, where nobody owns the majority of it and nobody controls, no one entity controls it, that's what makes it decentralized. So basically the definition of centralized is an entity or individual controls it. Decentralized means that nobody controls it, that it's a consensus, is my understanding. So basically all of, like in blockchain's case, all of the people that are out there mining it, all the computers that are out there doing the calculations and stuff, they're the ones that together are controlling it. So it's more of a hive mind.
Yeah, and I think the key to understanding all of that is once people get the idea that, now of course a computer.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Yeah, Michael will be dominating the conversation here in just a second when that stuff starts kicking in. So, but the idea is like, of course, now we're at a point where computers could be doing that. But as we're finding out with like Doge this week, banks or large institutions like governments don't want to give up this power of controlling the ledger, because if they can control the ledger, what can they do?
They could change it.
That's exactly right. Like they can commit the fraud. And that's what happened this week. Especially the most shocking one is they went to the Department of Treasury and they really didn't have a ledger. Like they weren't recording anything, which is shocking. Like the thing for me, the hard part that I'm hearing all this stuff that's coming out is like, this stuff is criminal if any one of us do it.
Yep.
I mean, immediate. Like if you went to work and your job was to record transactions and you just let transactions go in a bank or any institution, you would be in jail that day. Like they just let all these employees go of the federal government. No, nobody arrested them, like acting like nothing happened. And that's a huge problem. Like it's a huge problem that why are government officials who are supposed to be safeguarding the tax money, who should be entering this information in, they're not being arrested immediately for basically stealing the money of the taxpayers.
Well, my question is how easily Elon and 5 20-year-olds were able to in 2 weeks uncover in 1% USAID is only like 1% of the government's expenditures, and they were able to find hundreds of billions of dollars over the years of money that they've wasted and that they've paid out into non-existent entities that it's either gross neglect or just flat out money laundering and fraud.
Well, yeah, it's and USAID is getting a lot of the bad rap, but I think that they said the U.S. Department of Treasury was they consider about 23% of everything that was leaving the department was going to, I guess, misdirected in some way. And that's a quarter of everything going out of that organization. And the fact that we have this, and here's the beauty of everything. And I'm hoping Elon in this and Trump, this is where they're going, is all this could be put on blockchain and be decentralized. In other words, it could become where anyone at any time could go online and see where every penny is going, and they can't mess with the ledger. They can't go back and undo it. They can't do any squirrely actions that they're doing. I mean, the fact that, this was one of the things that I was talking to people in my community, like, hey, our city should be doing this. We should put our budget on the blockchain. Now, it scared the people that I was saying, because they thought what I was saying was we should turn the budget into crypto. And it's like, no, those are two different things. Like, and I realized, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this huge hurdle, because the education of what this stuff really is, it's so far behind people right now. And it's going to be a struggle for me to be able to communicate that to people, that no, this is how we can make government transparent and get it out of corrupt people's hands.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to look up, there was a video of when the internet first came out, and they were on the news. Like, the two newscasters were talking to each other about what the internet was. And it's fucking hilarious. News anchors discussing what the internet. I'm typing with a cigar, so sorry. Here we go.
Well, blockchain, Deadwood puts out the blocks are each individual transaction. The chain is the connecting between each of those transactions in order to show the history of everything.
Think of each block as a page in a ledger. It's one page in a book ledger of the transactions that were made in those split seconds. And then the chain is them connected. So the encryption, it shows that there is no break in those pages, so it hasn't been tampered with. So that's blockchain is basically why they call it that.
No one can go back and modify one of the data in one of those blocks, because it then invalidates the entire chain of transactions, or something like that, I think is.
Whereas you can go back to, an actual ledger that was handwritten, especially if you did it in pencil, and erase and write in different numbers.
Especially if there's only one of them. Yeah.
So can you guys hear this?
Let's go.
What's that?
I can see it. I don't hear anything yet.
Let me try again. Entire screen. Oh, here we go. I need to do the audio. All right. So this is Good Morning America back, and I want to say it was like the early 90s or 94. And it was when the internet first came out, and basically they're trying to discuss what is the internet. So it'll kind of give you an idea of where we're at with blockchain right
now. I wasn't prepared to translate that as I was doing that little tease.
Oh, that's
that little mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At.
See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard it. I'd never heard it said. I'd only seen the mark, but never heard it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
I heard around big fight up in the lunchroom the other week.
There it is. Violence at NBC. GE.com. I mean,
well, Allison should know.
What is internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network, the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big. How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
No, she can't say anything in 10 seconds or less.
Allison will be in the studio shortly. What does it mean?
It's a giant computer network made up of started from.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us what this was.
It's like a computer billboard.
It's not an. It's a computer billboard, but it's nationwide. And it's several universities and everything all joined together.
Right.
And others can access it.
Right.
And it's getting bigger and bigger all the time.
It came in really handy during the quake. A lot of people, that's how they were communicating.
So, I mean, basically, that's it. Is I mean, that it shows you, that is where we're at with blockchain technology right now.
Yeah.
Is people are like, what is it? I don't care. There's too much going on. Like, I mean, I vividly remember 94. I was, I joined the military like a year before that. And I was in Korea. I didn't really hear about the internet until I got back from Korea. And it still really didn't catch on, and it wasn't a thing for another couple of years, really, for just, the average everyday person. And so what's that?
I want to know, how old were you, Josh, when the internet came out?
When did it come out?
How old were you at that time?
It was around 92, 93 is when it first came out.
I was born in 92. It's crazy. Listening to this is wild how far we've come. Like, I can't even imagine those days, really. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to imagine before, cell phones and text message and instant messaging and stuff. I mean, we've just come exponentially far in just, a decade or two. So,
yeah. What like Josh, I'm interested to hear from your point of view, somebody that was born basically when the internet was born and growing up in a world of cell phones and internet and now blockchain technology. I mean, what was your first impression of blockchain technology when you ran? Because you're relatively new to crypto, correct? And blockchain.
Yeah, of blockchain technology. I, just like Taylor was saying, and you've been saying, it's like I heavily associate it with crypto. I mean, that is, I've only recently kind of learned that there's real world use cases for it that don't really have anything to do with crypto. So I think it is a bit of a hurdle to communicate that to people, because like this entire space consists of terminology and, new words and, terminology that people they're not familiar with, they've never heard of, and then is even harder to understand and wrap their head around, especially if they're not very technologically inclined or, have had anything to do with similar stuff. So it's
like my experience where I go to the doctor and the doctor starts using all like the medical terms for everything, and you're like, dang, like I must have something really bad. And then there's like, oh, you just have a cold. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, but that's kind of like when crypto guys start talking, sometimes I feel like, man, what the hell are they talking about? Like,
it's like I heard what you said, but just tell me what it means. 'Cause I don't know.
No habla crypto.
Yeah. That's exactly how I feel sometimes. But yes,
I wonder if we could tokenize blockchain technology workshops and incentivize people to learn and experience some of the, through practice and through receiving tokens that are exchangeable for real world stuff on the blockchain. And then they can actually, I mean, it's just kind of a funny concept, but
Coinbase does it. They have the Coinbase Learn, where you can go in there and you do these little tutorials and quizzes, and they pay you in the crypto for that blockchain you're learning about.
Yeah. I've done that a few times.
That's why I should start the City of McKinney crypto coin, and like you can go earn stuff if you go learn how it is. It'll be worthless, but at least it would be like people would get the idea of like, oh, this is what it is. This is how you
Taylor. You know what you could do is get businesses that are technologically forward thinking and get it to where people can earn crypto by, learning about it, like on the website, or by donating their time to help the community, like community cleanup and things like that. And they can use that to get discounts at participating, restaurants and, things like that.
That's actually a really good idea. That'd be a fun thing for a community to do, to have its own coin.
It'd basically be gamification of learning about crypto, that it had real world incentives.
Yeah.
Funny enough, just a few minutes ago, I had the idea, because I really liked a lot of what you said, Taylor, about like prioritizing emergency preparedness and independence and resources and stuff like that. So I just started playing with Grok on how to tokenize sort of primitive practices and resources, almost like the old school barter system, and incentivize people to learn skills in exchange for tokens that they can then trade for eggs or produce or something like that that has value. And solar systems, hydro. You're working on something, Mike, a hydro generator or something like that.
Micro hydro. Yeah, hydroelectric plant.
Yeah, so it could encourage some of those skills and that learning. We could do like a real world kind of what this Coinbase has, a you learn thing, and instead of incentivizing
like a crypto university kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean that might be something that works.
We'll have to talk offline about that. I wouldn't mind doing something along those lines for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting idea. It'd be also an interesting idea of because one of our biggest, one city's problems that they always have is homelessness. And it's like, well, what if you could easily make it easy for a homeless person to be able to go do jobs around town and earn some money? And it just, hey, this is how you get paid. It's like you get paid on a card it's basically tokens from the city. And here are places in the city that will accept them as payment. And you could really be very creative.
The liquor store, the crack dealer.
Jimmy down at the 7-Eleven. He'll take
you'd have all your homeless working 24/7.
Yeah. But the idea is like one of the problems that people have is like, okay, we give homeless people money and they just go get drugs with it. With this, you can actually control what they can actually get out of it, which is we can say you can go get food. You can go, here's a place to stay in the city that will take it. You got a way to kind of incentivize that kind of work.
You could have it to where with people's smartphones, they could actually, instead of giving people money that were like panhandling and stuff, they could basically give them those city tokens, and like you said, those people would have the peace of mind that I'm giving them money, but they can only get food or shelter or have a safe place to sleep tonight.
Yeah, guys, we're solving all the world problems right here on this show.
We're doing it.
So, problem. How would you prevent people from doing similar things that they do with food stamps or something? Yeah, right. Yeah. Like selling those coins or something like that for dollars, and going and buying drugs.
I think the way that you would avoid it would be the fact that if the only thing that they could do with it was getting a hotel room or getting food, I think would probably limit the black market for that quite a bit. No
peer-to-peer transactions with that stuff.
We'd have to figure that out. Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah, but like you can make it that the end transaction of it, like, so whoever first initially gets it by putting money into the system, they can give it to one person. But the end result always has to be a business that has been vetted by the city to determine. So like you have citywide businesses where you say, we'll accept these, then we vet you that you're actually being honest with these people and stuff. And they're not, selling alcohol or drugs or anything to the individual, but you're providing an actual service. One, it'd be great for the small businesses of that city, because then you're going, okay, the money's going to stay in the city to the small businesses. Plus, we verified that this business is not going to provide, anything other than the essential needs for this individual.
Dude, this might be a really good way to on-ramp people onto blockchain and crypto, the difference between the two, and and do something that would be very beneficial to the community.
Yeah, we solved that problem and really fast, and I think that the result is something that's really beneficial. That's going to help help businesses, like you said.
But
that's
as
really
a
cool.
city, that's great for you because you keep your money in your city. Like,
Yeah.
Also, wouldn't utilizing blockchain technology sort of be, having tokens and reward systems and things like that be impervious to, say there is an emergency or an EMP or something. Well, I don't know if we would be able to use it then, but it would be kind of impervious to, the banking system going down or not being able to use certain things, if it's your debit card or your credit card, maybe, or I don't know exactly how all that would work. You'd still need power and internet,
Honestly, if there was a widespread power outage, I mean, even with the way existing things are, it's gonna affect commerce, no matter what. And then like an EMP, I mean, you're not gonna be able to use your debit card. You're not gonna be able to use your banking. So I mean, we've kind of already painted ourselves in that corner. But the good thing is that with a blockchain that was controlled by the city, then you could actually use it as an emergency backup to where you could still have a ledger of the exchange of goods and services, and then whenever everything was restored, then you would have something that where it's like so and so owes so and so this much because they got gas or they got food or they got whatever. And so it would almost be a way to keep records when the ability to keep records was down.
Yeah. Yes. And I mean, for me, the biggest thing for blockchain, the things that I kind of went with, one was everybody can always see in the community what the money is being spent for, how much things are people are, and there are so many people that are so detail oriented, they'd be all over it all the time, watching how much was paid. But the cool thing that you could really do with blockchain is, so like the city, it spends $300 million 1 year, but it collected in taxes, $380 million. Well, the blockchain at the end of the year could either go reduce the taxes immediately for the next year, give a rebate.
It could do it in real time.
Yeah, it could do it even in real time. Or, like it could send back the money going, here, immediately, here's your money. You got a refund for the year because we didn't need that money.
Yeah.
And you could reward citizens that are, watching the blockchain and different things and kind of being on top of things, going, hey, if you spot fraud or things that are going on that are inappropriate within the system, we give rewards for that kind of stuff all the time with the federal government. Like you report, somebody, you're a whistleblower, you get a percentage of what they collect.
I got punished for it.
You did? You stole money?
No, I got punished for pointing it out. I was in the military, and I actually pointed out. They call it use it or lose it. So at the end of, and this is how most government agencies work. The end of the fiscal year, everyone's given a budget, and in the military, each unit is given so much money for operations, for training, whatever, ammunition. There's different pots of money. There's people money and there's stuff money.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, if you haven't used all your money, then they cut your budget the next year. So everyone in government knows at the end of the year, you get together your wish list of everything that you want. If you need new optics for your rifles, if you need to go to a certain school, whatever, and you put in your wish list, and then the commander and everybody goes through it and says, yes, no. They crunch the numbers. All right, this gets us to where we used all of our money, so we can ask for more money next time, because we didn't have enough money this year. And so basically,
the opposite should be done. That you should be bonused off what you save the government. Each department should go, well, we're going to give.
It should roll over.
Well, it's a rollover, but you should take 20% of whatever you can save in a year and say, we'll give it to the department for bonuses to the employees for such a good job of reducing costs.
Well, and the problem is within government employees, I don't think you can do that. There's laws against using, like stuff money for people stuff. So, like you can't mix and match pots of money. You can go to prison for it.
You can give the people stuff though.
Yeah, you don't go to Michael. We just found out if you're in the government, you don't go to prison for.
Actually, you have a valid point. You have a valid point.
You can give hundreds of millions of dollars to anybody, and
Mike got put in the hole for a week though.
No, I actually kind of got blackballed, and I ended up, all my peers, they were retiring as like E8s and stuff like that. I retired as an E7 because I was just always going against the grain and not playing ball, because whenever I would go TDY or travel, for the military, I would always try to be responsible with the taxpayers' money. I would say if there's 2 or 3 of us going, we only need 1 rental car. We're not going there on vacation. We're going there on official business. We should share a room. We should share a rental car. We're going to be staying at the same place. We're going to be doing the same things. If we want to go do something on our personal time, we can either go together or I can take an Uber. It's the taxpayer isn't paying for my vacation. I'm going there on official business. And so anytime I went anywhere, I was always saying, trying to, get other people to do it. And yeah, it's just everybody just treated the taxpayers' money as it was like their own slush fund.
Well, that's what you get, Michael. Stop trying to be good. As one judge once told me, he said, Taylor, no good deed goes unpunished. If you try to do what's right, they're going to punish you.
It would be cool if there was some way to incentivize people to be more conscious of that, though. Like it, like you said, it seems like there's not really a way to do that, but that doesn't motivate people to spend wisely in those positions.
No, I mean, and you can't blame them. It's the way the system is set up. If they, like you said, if they incentivize people to where, in government to where it's like, all right, you didn't use your $1 million, you used 900,000, you have an extra $100,000 for the next fiscal year. And it would incentivize them to be responsible to where they can roll that over. So like, in the case of the military during peacetime, they could be more responsible because, there's a lot less operational costs and they could roll that over. And then when it came time to where they were getting ready for deployment, they would have a huge amount of money to where they can get everybody caught up on training and get people out to the range and, just all these different things where, Congress and, the Defense Department and the Pentagon wouldn't have to print money, print imaginary money to pay for all that. And I don't know, like I said, it just, and I might not know all the ins and outs and stuff like that, but from, my level, to me, it just looked like just massive fraud, waste, and abuse.
Yeah. So one of the key, so I'm writing that book I told you about. I spent the last 20 hours writing.
Yeah.
So one of the parts of the book is explaining what societies are and civilizations. So there's a great book. I recommend everybody read it. It's one of the most eye-opening books ever. It's called Sapiens. And Sapiens explains how human beings evolved differently than all other animals. And we evolved completely separate from all other animals because we developed an ability that no other animal has. And that is we can believe in lies.
And we have thumbs.
No. We have thumbs.
What's that?
Chimpanzees have thumbs.
But they don't have opposable thumbs.
Yeah, well, they have it on. Don't they have it on their feet? I thought they can use things with their feet.
Well, they can grip things, but they don't have the full range of motion that we have.
So, but the difference,
like fine motor
between us and all other animals is that we can believe in lies. Now, what did that ability give us? Well, if you go to a chimpanzee, we cannot teach a chimpanzee how to use money. You can put a banana and put money in front of a chimpanzee.
Actually, I think they did.
Well, they tried, but they always
they always
revert back.
Well, they did it with They did it with crows, Mike. I think maybe you're talking about it. There was definitely a reward system.
Well, I think it was monkeys, because the monkeys started bribing the female monkeys to have sex with them. They were using the food to
they always
the female monkeys.
Yeah, but in every one of those situations, they'll revert back.
Oh, okay.
They'll lose the ability. Like they can't do what humans do, which is actually continue to exchange money back and forth. And the idea is that we can create a fake reality, an imaginary reality, and we can interact with each other in that imaginary reality. Because we have this conscious ability to create and do that. Whereas other animals do not do that and cannot, we can teach some for a small period of time, but they'll revert back to their other ways, and they won't interact with each other that way for very long. Well, what did that allow humans to do? Well, for the longest time, all animals, the max amount of other animals they can hold in their group, sorry, I should say mammals, because birds, of course, can do more than this, but all mammals, they can only exist in the max groups. I think the max ones are like 1,000 mammals can coexist together under one leader. There's herds that can exist, but they don't exist as one under one like bull or something like that. But like all other ones, you need like some alpha male that kind of holds that group together. Well, humans were like this for a long time as hunter-gatherers. The alpha male, he can hold about 100 other people together before it starts falling apart. Well, when we started to develop the ability to believe in things that aren't true necessarily or not in our reality, we were able to start things like religion, where you could have a belief in a God. And so what that allowed was the first ideas of cities coming about, where a group of people had a common belief system and they would follow a rule set based upon that being or whatever. And so they could coexist together in that group. And that, of course, went from cities to states. And now we exist in nations with hundreds of millions of people that coexist together, and we all get along and don't kill each other.
And there's a deeper psychology to that. I don't want to get too far off the blockchain thing, but what they found is without that alpha male to like galvanize everybody, once the group gets too big for people to be emotionally connected to the others, it gets to a point to where a society gets, so large that you don't have you're not incentivized, through an emotional connection or even a connection of, this person collects the berries, I make the meat, I want their berries, they want my meat. There's a selfishness to it, but at the same time, there's an emotional connection to where, that might be your cousin or your nephew or your son or, your wife, whatever. But once you get too big to where you don't have that connection, then like you said, the society starts to fracture, and then eventually, they split off into other smaller groups. They grow.
Unless they maintain the belief system. The belief system in the country, like we can exist as a whole country because we believe.
That's what religion was for thousands of years.
Yeah, and we believe in the Constitution now. I mean, but once you start fractionalizing, once you start attacking that belief system, you're destroying your actual society. It tears it apart. Like if you start teaching people the Constitution's bad or it's dumb or it doesn't work, and people start to believe that, then this imaginary world that we all believe in, we coexist in.
You get what we have right now.
Exactly. So what are the key things of maintaining those belief systems is number one is trust. Like once people lose trust in the system, that's when a society falls apart. And that is like, people don't realize like how devastating this news is of what Doge is saying. People are losing their trust in the federal government. I see people burning IRS letters, like going, I'm not going to pay one more cent to this government. That's terrifying because enough people don't pay it's gone.
The whole system collapses.
Yeah, the second thing is that the society itself needs to be able to adapt with its times together and change those belief systems in a uniform way, which of course is a serious problem we have right now, which we can't even get Congress to get anything done. The third is a commitment of its people to the ideals. You can't get people now, like what people, nobody will, like no one wants to go to war. No one wants to join the military. Like Michael, you
except the transgenders, they love it in there.
but like, when we were kids, Michael, it was so honorable to go into the military. It was viewed as such a huge positive thing. But now nobody wants to go in, like, because we're losing that commitment to the nation as a country. And the last
Hey Josh, in your bottom right hand corner, you have to select all if you want C90 to be able to see your what you're typing.
Okay, I don't have that option for some reason, but what up, C90? That's all I was gonna say. But yeah, go on, Taylor.
And then the last is like identity that we have as a nation of like the core beliefs that we have, which we enshrine in the Constitution. We the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, tranquility, and for the common defense. Those ideal principles that we're supposed to believe in. But now we're fracturing all there, and we're fracturing apart, and we're falling apart. But I want to get with blockchain. Like, the only way blockchain crypto become a system is really when people start to believe in it.
Well, I have a way that we can segue it back to the blockchain. All these things that you just talked about, where people have lost faith in our government, voting, taxes, how our money's spent, all of those things, they can all be put on the blockchain and be 100% real time, transparent, and any one of us can audit it. So, like anytime that somebody is born, then they are assigned a key, it's a private key that is, encrypted, that is on the blockchain, like say for voting. Whenever somebody dies, whenever the death certificate is generated, their key comes off the blockchain. You only get a key if you're a citizen, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, when it comes time to vote, you don't got to go to a booth. You don't have to, show ID, because your ID is digital, and you can vote from your phone. And the results, when the polls opened, when the polls closed, we would instantly know the results. It could be auditable by anyone, and it would be fully transparent. You could see if there was anything fraudulent done, and we would have confidence back in our election system. Same could be done with taxes, like you were saying. Our money's digital already. People, they kick and scream about this, CBDCs and stuff like that. They can shut your money off at your bank. The government does it all the freaking time already. The IRS does it if you don't pay your taxes. Everybody, like screams and cries about their, CBDCs and our money being tracked, and they're going to shut off your money. They can do it now. Yeah. It's ridiculous to be worried about that. We've crossed that bridge. But with digital money and with blockchain technology, like Taylor was saying, we can pay our taxes. You can see what everybody pays. You ensure everybody paid their fair share, and you can see what the government does with it. And it would be fully transparent. I mean, not overnight, but very quickly, we could get confidence back if the government was willing to give up its evil ways. And
so, Michael, I'm a little offended because you hadn't asked me what my book's about.
Taylor, what is your book about?
Thank you for asking me that question. I'm waiting for a long time for that to come. So my book is about how our society is going to end in 7 years. And
well, that's shitty. I'm ready for it. I just need some people to come up here and help me.
Yeah. So basically, it's explaining how the process that we can actually walk back through and go that society actually resets itself every 80 to 100 years. There's a pattern that is followed every 80 to 100 years, and we're following it right through, and it's about to happen again where we're going to hit a crisis and our society repeats itself because the same things always follow through. And number one thing that happens when a society is about to fall apart is trust is lost in the government because of fraud, deceit, dishonesty, and those become the kind of the pillars of what's going on at our highest level.
Clipping the coins. The Romans, they clip the coins.
Exactly. Well, that was inflation. They would clip up the coins. You know about that. You know other things about the Roman Empire that they did right before the collapse, that they stopped having children. That they stopped.
Don't lump me into your doomsday scenario since I didn't have kids.
It's a lot of people. Yeah.
They stopped. The men stopped getting married because there was no longer beneficial to them to get married. Like decadence.
There's no upside. Like, why get married? It's like there's literally no upside.
So, and that's the problem is like right before the Dark Ages happened and the Roman Empire fell, we have literally almost identical scenarios happening. Like it is, we're high inflation, fighting all these wars. You have an aging demographic with very few children. Here's a key one that they did in order to solve their demographic problem. They immigrated people into their country, but didn't give them citizenship and tax them.
That sounds familiar.
Like, I mean, it's like identical almost to the T of what's going on in our country right now. And yes, like most people are projecting, if you follow the time frame of what they call the saeculum. The saeculum was what the Romans referred to as the long life of a person. It was 80 to 100 years, and that society would repeat itself. The Roman Empire had 12 saeculums before it collapsed. We are on the British Anglo-Saxon 6th saeculum, and when you follow out the kind of tracking, it began our basically last phase of our saeculum began in 2008 with the financial crisis. And it is from that point, usually within about 30 years, the society will completely collapse in on itself. Mm-hmm. In order to restart it over again. And so my book is I go through the meta patterns that are out there that are showing that this is all going exactly where it's gone before.
The fourth turning.
The fourth turning is the book. It was one of the books you could read. That book, in Thomas Campbell's The Big Toe, he talks about the fundamental process, which is also the pattern. You can read Ray Dalio's book of Principles, where he talks about it too, kind of warning everybody, hey, this is coming to an end. Get ready. And like
I've been ready.
Look at that house. That house looks like a freaking warrior cabin right there.
Hey, man, I've been ready for 9 years.
But like my in the book, I
need to start a colony. I need to start a colony up here.
Yeah, get it all ready for everybody. I know. I need to help invest in your little colony up there to get a place for us.
Dude, all it would take is, I mean, it wouldn't take much. If I can do a couple of shipping container cabins, and I'll finish up that hydroelectric, and the world could go to shit and we'd be fine. We could have greenhouses, and I got a river, and there's fish and game, and yeah, we'd be set.
Utopia in your backyard.
You got to get your pilot's license so you can fly up here if everything goes to shit, though.
That's the only problem right there is I don't have a plane.
Well, dude, if everything's going to shit, as long as you know how to fly something, go and take something. Exactly. Deal with it later.
Exactly. That's how I have to look at it. No, but that's the reality of like where we are heading right now, and we're basically as a nation just going right for the cliff. And but I put in I'm going through the book. I have a vision of how we can save it.
Well, don't ruin freaking Apocalypse Day.
Yeah,
I've been getting ready for 9 years. Don't ruin it for me. You make my whole thing fucking pointless.
After we're all dead, you're like, well, that was really dramatic.
That was anticlimactic. Yeah.
I don't have the internet anymore, so what am I gonna do?
No, yeah. I definitely have to get busy outside more.
Yeah. So, but no, like I think like we're kind of at this one crossroads of history where we actually have a way out, and I think it has a lot to do with this
blockchain.
idea that we could use blockchain to get rid of the main problem of why societies fail: dishonesty of leadership. That corruption. Is like corruption is if we have a way to get rid of it, that is what usually causes the collapse.
It's something that hasn't existed in history. There hasn't been a technology that could instantly uproot and lay bare the wheels and the gears and the levers that those in power have used historically to hide the money laundering and the payoffs and the corruption and overthrowing foreign governments. I mean, some of that USAID money, they're saying that it was used in Syria to fund ISIS and terrorist groups in Syria to overthrow Assad. They did it in the Clinton. She did it over in was it Muammar Gaddafi?
Yeah,
that in Libya.
Yep.
And now they've been doing it in Afghanistan since we pulled out. They've been sending USAID through USAID. They've been sending $40 million a week to the Taliban to fight ISIS. So basically, the people that we fought for 20 fucking years, we have been funding for the past 4 or 3, almost 4. We have the technology to expose all that and keep it from happening again. And you would think it would be something that Democrat, Republican, right, left, conservative, progressive, whatever, communist and Marxist could agree on, that a government shouldn't be interfering in other countries, goings on.
No.
Yeah.
They hate that idea. They are not about it, man. They don't want that window looking into all the stuff they've been exchanging behind backs. And you're right, Taylor. Everybody's lost trust, and trust is really easy to lose. It's taken a while, but we haven't really had a choice but to trust our government. We don't really have another choice, but it's really hard to get back. And blockchain eliminates the need to trust. It eliminates the need to have faith in any individual, or even human error starts getting eliminated through that, because it's an open, publicly verifiable ledger. There's no need to trust anyone. It's you don't have to rely on what they say. It's just it's there.
I know it would be the biggest step our federal government can make to start restoring trust. It'd be like, here we go. We're making it
honestly. If they don't, I honestly fear that, Taylor, you're not too far off. Within the next 7 years, that it's going to get bad enough to where other countries, if not our own citizens, are going to be so frustrated. Like you said, people are saying, I'm not paying any more fucking taxes until this is fixed. And if people stop paying taxes, exactly like you said, the system collapses. All the people that want free healthcare, that is not even a chance of happening. You want free education, not fucking happening. All of these, programs like welfare and the food stamps and housing and, all of those things go away. Medicare, Medicaid, gone.
Yeah.
All of these, socialist socialist programs that you're all so proud of, they go away. So it benefits us all, and people need to wake up and they need to learn about this technology, because it may be the only thing that saves the republic.
Yeah, and if they don't quickly figure out a way to restore that trust of, like, I mean, Doge is doing a big part in the sense of, like, now people feel like, I mean, the shock awareness is happening, but people feel like it's a progress of finally something's going to get, because we've all known this is going on. We've known that there's fraud.
Yes.
But this is like, finally something's actually happening. It's just shocking to see. It's mostly coming from the Democratic Party, but their reaction, like, how dare Elon expose a fraud? Like, how dare you guys act this way? Like, can we put you in jail? That's kind of like my kind of thought process is like,
yeah,
like, clearly you guys knew this was going on, because you guys are not acting shocked that it was happening.
And they're not out in front of buildings, in front of cameras, screaming and yelling about the corruption and the misuse of funds. They're out there screaming and yelling because it's being exposed.
Yeah, like the whole thing is like, how dare Elon? He's not elected. And it's like, well, for the last 4 years, our country has been ran by senior advisors of Biden who are not elected officials, and you guys did not care, and you knew that it was going on.
Yeah.
You sit there and act like, but once your fraud has been exposed, I was watching like Marco Rubio, and he was like about to piss his pants because he was in charge of, what department was it? I think there's some department, but it was massive amount of fraud that was happening with it, and you could just see on his face like, like, he's like, well, we got to get to the bottom of this. And it's like, wasn't this your job? Weren't you supposed to be over this organization and know that your organization was misapplying so much money? But I don't think Marco Rubio was involved. I'm not saying he was involved in the fraud. I'm just saying these congressmen and women aren't doing any oversight. They're not really involved in anything. They just pretend to be. And we send these people up there, and they're useless.
He's the Secretary of State now,
but he was over something. I forgot what it was.
And for those of you that don't know, he's a Republican, so we're spreading the love.
Exactly. That's why I brought him up, because I felt like I was attacking the Democratic Party too much. So I want to both sides here, because they're
Florida House of Representatives. He was the majority whip and the majority leader.
He's in some committee he's over.
Yeah, he's the House Speaker in 2005. Go ahead and keep talking. I'll keep looking.
Let's see. Rubio blames. I forgot which one it was, but there's a video of him like trying to explain. But at the end of everything, it's just like, the reality is the trust is gone now completely from not only the federal government. We don't even trust our media. Oh, here's another thing. So like, this was another thing I found that I put in my book. There was this in 1850s. There was a newspaper that started reporting that there were people that lived on the moon, and everybody was believing it. And it talked about how, so they went back and they're like, well, how would people believe this? Like, you can look up and see the moon. Like, he was on the Committee on Appropriations, the Subcommittee on Financial Services and General Government, Subcommittee on Labor, Health and Human Services, Education, Subcommittee on the Legislative Branch, Subcommittee on Military Construction, Veterans Affairs and Related Agencies, Subcommittee on State Foreign Operations and Related Programs,
Select Committee on Intelligence. He was a ranking member.
So he's like
a bunch of financial shit.
Yeah. But it's called the Moon Hoax. And it's where a newspaper, I think the Sun Times in New York, kept and everybody was believing it. And I was like, man, this sounds a lot like non-human intelligent UFO stuff. like I was like, am I being deceived in all this stuff? And so it was this idea that this history kind of, it doesn't repeat itself. It rhymes. It follows the same thing where like people lose trust in their media, their news organizations right before a collapse, like the Civil War. This happened right before the Civil War. And it was because the media just started basically sensationalizing their news instead of actually reporting truthful things.
Well, dude, this recent news has not done it any favors because that USAID was exposed. They've been paying the BBC. They've been paying 11 of the 12 Ukrainian news outlets. All of the US outlets have been getting paid by the government. And you wonder why they're all talking heads, and basically the propaganda arm of the government.
Well, yeah, because we all sat there and we're like, nobody watches these organizations. More people watch Joe Rogan than watch CNN. So what damn
people watch Trump whenever he does a Spaces on X than that watch any mainstream media.
Yeah, so like, how are they making any money? That's what was my question.
They're getting subsidized by our tax dollars.
Exactly. Now we know. We know the truth. That the truth is the federal government's paying them to spread their lies.
And that's why they're scrambling, is because Trump and the Trump admin, they're starting to shut down all of these revenue streams, and that's why they're all scrambling and just screaming from the heavens, and trying to put out all these smear pieces about Elon and his kids shouldn't be having access, and they're just going nuts because basically that spigot is being shut off, and they're in full panic mode.
Yeah, I think they're kicking and screaming right now because they realize this is their last chance to fight this off, because like you said the other night, like we are just seeing through the keyhole. The door hasn't even been swung open yet. Like we are just seeing the tip of the iceberg. And once that amount of not just Democratic, there's Republicans involved too, it's on both sides, but that level of corruption, once that is exposed, it will be irrecoverable. Like people will never trust them again, and there's going to be no explaining it away. That's why they are doing everything they can to keep their hands, keep their eyes off of what is going on.
Yeah. Like people like Bernie, who, generally people thought, even though a lot of people didn't like his politics, they generally thought of him as an honest, good person. He's kind of been exposed in this whole thing. And it's really sad to watch because it's like you preached for the small man for all those years, and it looks like you were taking bribes in the back.
I want to play this clip real quick, just to kind of preface it. As you can see, if you're familiar with this gentleman, he's retired now. This is many, many years ago when I don't know, a lot of you might not remember, but Ron Paul was running for president. And those of you that don't know, Ron Paul and Rand Paul have been screaming from the rafters that all this that's going on right now, they've been saying that this is what's been going on for decades now. Ron Paul is Rand Paul's dad, and they've both been in politics. They've both been screaming about this. They're famous. Usually, I want to say it's like New Year's or something like that. They usually filibuster, and they'll sit there with these big flashcards, showing the ridiculous shit that our tax dollars is being spent on, like giving cocaine to quails to see how it affects their sexual patterns and shit. But let me play this real quick.
Why can't they do that for me? No, it's good.
Right?
Oh, we can't hear it.
Here, go ahead and play it. I'm listening.
Michael.
What?
We can't hear it.
It's pretty low. I don't know if I can turn it up.
We heard the last one just fine.
Can you not hear it at all?
0. Yeah, you can't hear it at all.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let me see if I got to flip that switch again.
I'm just waiting for that little crack in that door behind you, like some creature to look through that.
like a Sasquatch to come out.
Well, you see all those like those shows on online of like something will like peek out or something. Of course, I think they're all hoaxes, but
well, I apologize. You guys can't hear it, but basically, this is Rand Paul, and everyone in the audience is laughing at him. The moderators laughing at him, and they're talking about basically like abolishing the Fed and abolishing the ATF and abolishing all these organizations that are redundant and wasteful. And everyone's laughing at him, and he's clapping, while the moderators listing off all these things that he felt, should be abolished. And I even remember back then, I really, really liked him, and wished that he would have gotten elected. I really think that he was given a raw deal, and I guess they're talking about allowing him to audit the Fed, or giving him a place in this admin to where he can at least oversee it and bring the Fed back under the at least under the purview of the government. Yeah. Because those of you that don't know, the Fed is a separate, totally separate from the government, just like the IRS. Yeah, they really don't answer to the government at all. They run our monetary system and interest rates and all those sorts of things, and really aren't held accountable by anybody.
Yeah, and like the fact that we can't, it's shocking, because the number one thing that always in every organization is transparency of the financial systems within those organizations. But yet the banking industry, no, you can't see what they're doing. Like, why? Why is it that the federal government has no purview over our own currency? Why don't we have the transparency to know what's going on? And it's because the only reason is they're doing shady shit.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
If you have nothing to hide, they would not care one bit that we were that all of this, this transparency was being brought forward.
Yeah, now we're starting to know for facts now. I mean, it's not just talk anymore. We're starting to see through that window.
Well, before we had no facts to stand on. It was all conspiracy theories and conjecture, and we were all just felt that's what was going on, because you can kind of see it. I mean, we're $36 trillion in debt. It's like we have roads that are fucked up. Our education system sucks. You have the whole southeast of the country that never got FEMA support. They have Amish down there building bridges so that people can actually get around. Amish were building tiny homes for people so they had shelter in the winter. Maui, they're still sitting around. They got they each got $700 checks for their burnt down homes. Everyone in California, they're still sucking hind tit, but hundreds of billions of dollars is going to Ukraine and all this other stuff. I mean, the writing was on the wall. We're just getting the receipts now.
Yeah, you got a blue tarp over your cabin, don't you, Mike?
I need to paint the roof blue. It's starting to get warm in here. I think I might have a laser getting aimed at me. I had to take my jacket off earlier. I think they found me.
I'm wearing blue today because we got the podcast going on, making sure I'm not targeted.
There you go.
Shoot, I only got
Taylor's safe. Taylor's safe. Well, Taylor, let's talk a little bit. With the time we got left, let's talk a little bit about your campaign.
Like, how much work it is, and I didn't realize.
Well, whatever you want. I just kind of want to open the floor to you. But I definitely want to focus on because I think people would be interested on what has been your experience so far. From the time that you filed the paperwork to getting your team together, and the grassroots movement. You and the boys going out and putting signage up, and just what's been your experience so far, and speaking to your constituents and trying to open their eyes to a different way of thinking.
So I think for me, the biggest things it's forced me to really understand like what's really going on, and how shocked I am at how I would say the poor vision of the leadership in pushing towards things, especially at this time. Our big issue here in McKinney is the city, which I believe back in the day may have been good intentions, was to build a McKinney National Airport. That's been the thing that they really wanted to do. They've put a lot of money into it, and I think that was kind of the idea. The problem has become the taxpayers don't want to pay for it. And so they keep pushing it on and keep going for it when most 60% of the city has said, no, we don't want this. And I don't think people understand like how bad that is for the city, because the city has been doing a lot of pushing, a lot of marketing, trying to convince the taxpayers to go with this. And still since 1970s, and still 60% of the city says no. So it's a complete disaster, and mainly because.
So for 50 years, they've been trying to trying to convince people, and the people have said no. I think it's time to come up with a new idea.
Yeah, but I don't think they have anything else. So that's why they keep going with this vision, is they keep trying to push it. And the problem is, I think it's going to be a really bad disaster for our city. Mainly why? I live in McKinney. I just want you guys to think about this. I live in McKinney. For me,
Taylor, there's the creature in the room. The creature in the
room. So I live in McKinney, and for me to get to DFW, the main airport in Dallas-Fort Worth, it's 23 minutes. Not that bad, right? It's a great airport. For me to get to the McKinney National Airport, it takes me 16 minutes. Because
not that big of a difference.
It's a whole.
It's quick. Whenever you pick me up at the airport, it's quick. The traffic's not bad.
No,
we bing bang boom. We're in and we're out.
And so I did all the math and I went through everything, because I'm like, I don't think they're really being honest. And so I spent probably 5 hours to figure out. So in order for McKinney to convince an airline to come into McKinney and fly commercial flights here, we have to guarantee that there's going to be 1 million. For McKinney to turn a profit, there will have to be 1 million passengers a year that go through it. Well, that's a significant amount. That's 3 flights a day that people would have to be full flights, completely full flights every single day going out of McKinney. If McKinney doesn't get 1 million passengers a year out of that airport, then the taxpayers are going to have to subsidize the airline to come in, or they're going to stop coming in. And we could be losing significant amount of money each year if we don't hit those targets. Well, the problem is, one, it's a lot easier. It's easy to get to DFW. And if you live outside of McKinney, it's easier to get to DFW than it is to get to the McKinney airport. So you're asking
why do you think that they've been pushing so hard for 50 fucking years to get this, with knowing that what you've found out and figured out? What is their motivation for pushing this? And obviously it's been multiple groups of people.
Yeah.
Is it that that mindset that just gets embedded, and so everyone just keeps pushing the same thing, or is there like an ulterior motive?
Yeah, like when I ran, they gave me a packet when I applied to run for mayor, and the whole thing in there was like, we support the McKinney National Airport. And I'm like, well, I was kind of shocked by that, because I was kind of like, well, the taxpayers have said no, they don't want this, but I think here's where to go, because you have to understand, you should always understand the other side before you start making your argument. So on 4 is they've already put a ton of money into it. Okay. McKinney, it's like, what's that movie back in the day where they bought that house and they kept having to put like money, the money pit. That's what it's called. Remember the money pit, Michael?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that idea. It's like, okay, we put all this money in. Here's the future. So I went and I said, okay, well, is there another municipality out there that I could compare it to? So I could go, okay, is this a viable option? Because we can look at another city, and Provo, Utah just did the same thing. They built a commercial airport and they're running through it. And so I was like, Provo, Utah has to be turning a profit. It's a great location for a national airport.
So they got skiing. They got a lot of tourism.
6 national parks. I'm going to tell you right now, no one is coming to McKinney, Texas for any tourism. It's not happening.
No.
Okay.
There's nothing.
Yes, there's nothing.
I mean, there unless you're going there to visit somebody, you live there, or you're coming there for business. That is the only reason that you go to Texas.
Yeah, and so
or if you're gonna go shoot pigs from a helicopter.
Yeah, that might be everything. But you're going to go to DFW if you're going to do that. You're going to go to Love Field. There's 2 other airports that service the area very well. But that being said, I went and I looked at Provo, Utah. So Provo, Utah, even though there's 6 national parks there, it is very the Salt Lake Airport is a disaster half the time to deal with, because it's a crappy that you have to walk through that freaking tunnel forever. It's not that good of an airport. So you could build a better little airport. You got BYU, that's in Provo, Utah. That is the freaking Mormons university. There's games there. There's all type of things that are going on there. It still doesn't turn a profit. It's still subsidized by the taxpayers.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, I mean, now their argument is give us 5 or 6 years and it won't be.
And then they'll say, and then after that 5 or 6 years, they'll be, give us 5 or 6 years. It's just, they kick the can.
Yeah, we got to post, we need another bond because we got to update this and we got to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like McKinney not only has to spend about another $200 million to get it up and functioning, they're not being honest with how much the operational costs are going to be to get to that 1 million passenger level that we have to subsidize till then. And then we got to build all the infrastructure to handle 1 million passengers a year going to downtown McKinney, because it's going to be a crowded mess. All right. And it's like, I'm sitting there going, no, I don't know why this push for this is so much, because it just looks like a big old money pit. And they go, well, all the taxes, the people that it's not going to generate the tax revenue that they think it's going to generate. They're making it up because if this was a really good idea, a private company would do
it. And honestly, that's a valid point, where for the argument of should government be involved in some of the things that they're involved in. Privatization has been shown in some cases that it's much more efficient because they're forced to be profitable. Whereas when government runs something, there is no incentive to be profitable because they can print money, they can tax, they can, put out bonds, they can do all these different things to generate, revenue, and they can force people, under threat of law, to come and seize your assets, freeze your bank accounts if you don't fucking pay. Whereas, like, perfect example, NASA, they did great things. Granted. However, Elon has done more in the past 5 to 10 years for space exploration than NASA has in decades. Internet, perfect example. There was a huge amounts of hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, that were allocated to bring high-speed internet to rural areas. And and I can tell you off the top of my head how many people got high-speed internet from that. Zero.
Yep.
Not a single fucking person. And I know because I live in a very rural area, and I had to use satellite internet called HughesNet, and it cost me like $250 a month, and it was basically dial-up internet.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people out here that homeschool because we're so remote. And Elon, he very quickly got, like, I think it took maybe a year or two.
Yeah.
He gave broadband internet to the fucking world. Everyone keeps talking about how he took US aid money. He took money to make the internet for the fucking world.
Yeah.
And he did it for a fraction of the fucking cost.
I know.
So the idiots that are saying that, that's a bad thing, it's one of the few good things that came from US aid was you can be in the middle of the fucking Pacific or Atlantic Ocean. You can be in Antarctica and have, a small dish and a modem and have high-speed internet. You can be in the Amazon doing environmental work and have high-speed internet. You can be out in the middle of nowhere and, teach your kids, give them a very good education because you have internet. It's, people need to stop looking at everything as being political. And like Taylor, you said it, look at things from an opposing view first and research it as if you have that mindset to fully understand the topic before framing your own personal views. Because obviously we all have our own passions, and our own views. But until you have a full spectrum and can look at it from and dissect your own views, pick them apart. And that's why I love these shows that we do. And we try to, and I really would like to bring on some, people that think, much more differently than we do. Anybody out there that sees this, please reach out to me, because I would really love to have a mature conversation and respectful conversation and hear opposing views so that it better shapes all of our views on these different topics. Because I don't want this to be an echo chamber. But sorry, I went off on a rabbit trail there.
No,
real quick,
no.
Taylor, do you guys know anything about? I saw briefly something on tokenized flights, where it kind of helps. I don't know if this has anything to do with solving that problem or anything. It just kind of reminded me. But people could buy their flights ahead of time, and then that would help, the airlines or the industry sort of be able to assess what sort of revenue they're making. And then people could trade those, trade those flights or sell those flights to other people. You could essentially buy all the flights that you're going to ever take or vacations that you're going to ever take. And then, kind of, I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting aspect of tokenizing stuff, having it on the blockchain, things like that.
Maybe that's what we should do. Tokenize the airport and be like, okay, you guys really want this airport? Those who you want to really own this, we're going to let you fractionally buy ownership interest into it.
Right.
Dude,
yeah,
that would be fucking genius. If you could basically buy stocks or shares of the airport, and based off of that, you got discounts on your plane tickets.
Well, discounts, but you could also get future revenue from it if it actually does turn out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. Or like one or the other. Basically, it could go into your wallet, and if you want, you can cash it out and spend it on whatever, or it's there if you want to use it, to buy tickets at a discounted rate.
It's sort of like what you were talking about.
Maybe that's a happy medium that you could present.
Yeah.
same as like you were talking about tokenized real estate and stuff like that. Then you get a share of the rent that comes in. You own a percentage of the property, right? And then you collect a portion of it. And then what was the solution to our societal collapse? Did we ever get there? I have a feeling it has something to do with blockchain. And then also, how do you plan on dealing with that hurdle of like, how do you have plans or an idea of like how, because this is something that needs to be imposed and like people need to be educated on it. I feel like it's very important to your campaign and what you stand for and things like that. So like, how do you plan on, what is the solution and how do you plan on implementing blockchain or getting that out to regular people?
Well, first and foremost, the change has to become, every time when a society collapses, it is the local community that saves the community. It's not the national. You have to understand the national government usually fails. In those, it's going to fail to offer the services that need, so the community has to pick it up. And so part of my platform is saying, hey, as a community, we have to start organizing ourselves in such a way that's probably what we should name it. McKinsey's nuts.
McKinsey's nuts. McKinsey's nuts. Hey, C90, before I forget, shoot me a message on X. I want to have you on the show next time.
But so the first idea is you have to, as a community, come together. You have to get to know your neighbors because that's how you survive. Michael, I know you know your neighbors and you guys have good relationships, but like at the end of the day, you cannot survive by yourself. That is the key understanding of everything. So number two, that's kind of what I want to refocus our attention from airports to securing infrastructure to making sure our city is prepared for a real disaster. The understanding that, Social Security is going to keep dwindling in the way, I don't think they're going to end Social Security unless the federal government ends. But if the federal government's going to continue, it's just going to inflate the currency like every other country has ever done until it's worthless.
Well, your power grid down there needs some work.
Yeah, and so that's
that honestly, before a fucking airport, you guys need to figure out, something that, like some sort of, micro power that can keep McKinney, even if the rest of the grid goes down, that, you can have, solar or something,
So I already figured it out. I already figured out what it would cost McKinney to do it. It would cost half of what the national airport would cost. About $100 million it would cost to have our basic infrastructure functioning for a community to survive either an EMP attack or a Carrington event or just a weather event, because the problem's going to happen as the governments become less and less effective. Like we almost, so in 2021, the Texas, in February, 3 years ago, the Texas grid almost failed, which would have meant that our power would have been off for about a month, which means in all of our cities, no water would have flowed for about a month.
Well, and it was in the winter time. A lot of people would have died.
Yes. Well, over millions of people would have died because there would have been no water. And then it would have turned to chaos.
Well, there would have been no water. Nothing would have flushed. So there would have been sanitation issues. You would have had no refrigeration. Medical services after 2 weeks would have been gone because that's all the diesel they have for the generators. So there would be no, basically all your medical services would go back to the 1800s because you wouldn't have x-ray machines, you wouldn't have lights, you wouldn't have, surgical, you wouldn't have, all the machines to monitor people, insulin, and any medications that need to be refrigerated would be unusable. Blood would be freaking, there would be no blood, banks or anything like that. If there was any,
No, what would happen is every road out of Texas would have been basically closed with cars. It would look like the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Like, because everybody would have gotten their cars and would have tried to leave, and all the gas stations would be empty of gas. And everybody would have ran out of gas on those roads. And it would have been the biggest chaos. So what has our state done? since that's happened.
Taylor would have some big solar panels bolted on top of his car, his
My
Tesla.
We're gonna
like, boys, get on the top with a solar panel while I drive.
We're gonna be out here for 8 days charging this thing. But the reality of what would have happened is, so what has happened since then? Does our state government fix the grid? They've done a few little things, but they can't. It's too massive. It's too expensive. The cities have to figure out, and they have to get something done in order to keep the water flowing if power goes out. That's number one. That would only cost about $12 to $45 million for the city of McKinney to get done, to make sure the water would flow even if the power went out. And if you just did that, you could survive. If you can keep water flowing. The second thing is trying to keep the power on. But those are like, oh my gosh, we haven't done anything yet. This is crazy. This is like psychopathic behavior. Like, and like we're talking about, like we spent more money to build a new amphitheater. I think it's, if I remember right, it's Troy Aikman wanted to do an amphitheater, so we pitched $25 million of McKinney money into. That stuff gets done, but not fixing this problem doesn't get done, because we live in law fucking land in this state that, it's never going to happen again. Well, if the storm, you guys just remember the storm.
Famous last words.
Exactly. The storm that just hit like 2 weeks ago and put snow on Florida beaches.
Oh, dude. Yeah, there's fucking alligators frozen under the water.
Yeah. If that would have just shifted over 2 states and hit us, that blast down, gone. None of us would be here.
Yeah. No, you'd be living up here at the cabin.
No, you would be dead, because we wouldn't
be frozen in his tracks.
Dude, you wouldn't be dead. I'd be flying down. I'd steal a plane and fly down there and come get you.
Come get me, Michael.
I mean, I'd come like swooping over your house and be like, oh.
Yeah, could you imagine? Like, like Texas is a freaking, and it's just crazy. And it's like, we do not pay attention to what's important. We live in la land in this state, because the state doesn't want to admit they don't have the money to fix it. It has to start from the cities up, and then the state can fix the larger grid.
Well, and that's the key, Taylor. I'm glad you bring that up, because I think that's the problem with a lot of government is everything is pushed up to the federal level and the state level when things need to go the opposite direction. With a lot of things like roads and education, and because the needs are so different, in different areas. Like even where I live compared to the nearest town, our needs are different. We really need to get in the mindset, like you're talking about, the micro to the macro, not the macro to the micro, because so much is like, and current events is showing this, so much is wasted in the macro because it's just too much to manage. And I halfway don't blame the federal, because it's just too much, but they've gotten in the mindset that that's their job. When their job should be to keep their responsibilities as small as possible so they can do a really good job at those things, and push down those things like the power grid, water, the basic needs, education, things like that, to the lowest level possible, so that they can focus their efforts on national defense, securing our borders, trade, things like that. They could do an awesome job if they just had those couple of, macro things to deal with, and allowed the states to deal with things on the state level, counties to deal with things at the county level, and municipalities or cities to deal with things at their level. And if things were compartmentalized like that, like you're talking about, Taylor, you would have McKinney being able to be self-sustaining. And maybe even a smaller town that wasn't able to, you could absorb some of that. Grandma and grandpa, over where they're at. I'm not going to dox them, but over where they're at, you could bring them to your house if they lost power out where they're at. And, mom and dad, you could bring them into the fold, there in McKinney, and care for them because you had that infrastructure. Other people could do the same until those services are restored and they could go back home.
Well, that's against my platform, because my platform is going to be, if the other cities around us don't do something to fix theirs, I'm going to say to you, don't bring your shit here when shit hits
well,
the fan.
But people are going to bring their family. I'm not saying that you want refugees, coming in.
Tell me how I war. I will line up.
If that happens, I want to be like the McKinney. Like, I want you to hire me as the McKinney, like, czar of, like, defense.
You'll be the balling guy, the neighborhood.
No, dude,
what was that word, Taylor? The disaster preparedness neighborhood. What was it? The balling guy, or the
I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of it.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely be like your czar of freaking defense of McKinney.
You'll be head of militia, Mike.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'll be the militia czar.
But to all joking aside, like, the encouragement would be, let's lead the way as we do it.
Yeah.
Let's get people talking about it in their cities. Because one of my attorneys in my office was like, what? Like, she had no idea that McKinney was 4 minutes and Texas was 4 minutes and 37 seconds away from total grid failure.
Yeah.
That's how close we got. And so she was like, she had no idea that the power would have been off. She was like, well, I thought that it was just going to be off for like a day or two. And I was like, no, it takes forever to get that thing back on. And so she was like, oh my gosh. She's like, I'm going to be showing up to the Frisco freaking city council meeting going, why aren't we getting this done? Like, and that's what you need to start doing, is we need to get it. One city needs to get going, and then the other residents are going to be like, wait, what?
I got two things for you. One, on the macro, is the reason Trump is doing a lot of the stuff that he's doing with trying to onshore a lot of the manufacturing. One of the things is electrical transformers. We are reliant on Mexico and China for our electrical grid, because we don't produce transformers. Biden sent all of our reserve transformers that the federal level had to Ukraine to rebuild their power grid. So we don't have a reserve anymore. So like you said, Taylor, if the power grid goes down, we don't have the resources to rebuild it. Second, all it would take is somebody forward thinking like yourself getting elected and doing that for McKinney, and God forbid Texas grid goes down, or that area's grid goes down, because there's like 4 or 5 different sections in the United States. It's not just Texas. There's surrounding states that are involved as well. But all it would take is for that grid to go down and McKinney to be the only one with the lights on. People would wake up real fucking quick. When they realize, like, how delicate our way of life is, with, a week, even a week or two, God forbid a month of the power being down. All it would take is, unfortunately, pain is the greatest teacher. Yeah. And that's all it would take for people to wake up and realize what you're saying, and really take it to heart. And unfortunately, I just think that we all live in this world that we're looking, through rose-colored glasses, because we can Amazon everything. We can go to Costco. We go to the hospital whenever we need something. The lights are always on. We live in this gilded cage almost, and we don't understand how delicate it is, because a lot of people haven't seen what it's like, and they don't know how to live without it. So
I know I mentioned this before, but I know
we got 10 more minutes before we get cut off. I just want to put that out there so we can wrap up.
Gotcha. Introducing blockchain technology, that's like going to be a big hurdle, and like, as is the emergency preparedness situation. So I wonder what the possibilities or the challenges there would be in implementing a blockchain-based system for a disaster preparedness community network where resources, skills, water, emergency supplies, water purification kits, things like that could be, there could be a reward system for tokenized sort of participation and stuff like that, that might encourage, people learning about blockchain, getting familiar with it, and incentivizing them to be prepared in case of something like this, and start building some of those resources for themselves or some credit towards them. I don't know, what that looks like.
I like that. Taylor, you talk about doing it on the city level as a mayor, and this is what I'm understanding from you, Josh. As a mayor, what would you do to incentivize people either using blockchain or whatever mechanisms or levers? How would you incentivize your constituents as the mayor to prepare at the household level to because obviously the power grid would be something that you would deal with, but what are ways that you would get incentivize people, and how would you incentivize people to prepare at the household level?
So we're going to answer that question next time, because we're going to be out of time here in just a minute, and that's a real good fucking question, because I think there's a lot of things that we can go over with that. So we need to have Josh back on next time, and we're going to go over that in detail, because I think that's a great
that will be the topic of that will be the topic of the next of the next podcast. So Taylor, with the 10 minutes we have left, I just want you to data dump. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy my beverage.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to do, first thing is we have to change as people, as a society, and we have to realize that there's foundational things and ways that we have to behave in order for a society to exist. Number two, we have to embrace this idea that human beings are at the highest level are always going to become corrupted. So we need some kind of decentralized blockchain to handle financial situations, so we don't have to trust a person. We can have technology handle it. Number two, we have to embrace AI. AI is our key to getting out of this fucking mess, because it is so big right now that the only way we're going to innovate to the level that we need to innovate is we need something far beyond human intelligence, and we have it right now in our pockets. Every one of us, we need to learn how to use it, and we need to teach people how to use it, because the more people using AI will amplify our abilities. Cities will need to start looking at implementing AI in their own cities by being able to communicate and to make their cities more efficient. They can do that very easily with the current technology that is available. I'm doing it with my business right now. For example, our receptionists are now going to be actually AI. We have a company that just came with us, and they're doing it.
Oh, so you are pulling that lever?
Yeah, we've been working. I've been working with them for the last 2 weeks, and they have made huge progress. And the last thing is, we are on the verge. This is not here yet. It should be here in the next, hopefully, 5 to 10 years. But we are on the verge of humans no longer needing to do the hard labor that they've always done in order to feed, clothe, get water, provide shelter for themselves. Robotics should be able to pull that off. Cities should invest heavily into robotics for their citizenry to provide the basic necessities of life, so people don't have to worry about it. They could take it off the plate of all the citizens of their city. I think the cities that will embrace that technology and go that way, they will find that, one, their cities will become extremely efficient, but they can get rid of homelessness. They could get rid of people people being hungry. The elderly services that are needed can all be handled through robotics in the next 5 to 10 years. And we have to embrace that quickly as a society, because I think we're going to have a window. And if we don't hit that window right and get this stuff put into place, I think we get overwhelmed by the debt and the storm that's coming. But I think if we can embrace these things right now, is start from the bottom. Don't wait till the federal government does it. Start, like Michael said, start in your local community. Get involved in your local community. Say, we are on the verge of being able to bring all those things in at one time at a local level and completely change our cities. Like the amount of efficiency that a city can get from AI just right now, just by implementing what I'm doing for a whole 49 cents a minute, they can implement a call center that's AI that can answer anybody's question that calls in. Imagine how much money a city can save just by doing that. Like, how many times do you call your city and they go, I have no idea. I don't know. Call this department.
Dude,
no longer needed.
Imagine if you're just trying to renew your license and it's all done through AI.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Goodbye, BMV.
Yeah. No, honestly, license plates, driver's licenses, all of that.
Yeah. All that stuff could be done so easily now. I mean, very inexpensively for a city. Cities would be shocked. You could probably save, millions of dollars a year for large cities in just implementing a call center that's AI.
Quick question, Taylor. How long did it take you to stand up that, that infrastructure to do that? And granted, it's very micro, but how long did it take you to set that up?
Well, right now we're moving back and forth, going everything, but it's not taking me very much of my personal time because the technology is just come out. These guys for law firms, they just built this for law firms, but 2 hours of training the AI was able
What's the name of that? What is the AI that you're using, or what is?
It's Ditch.com. They're brand new. They're not like
Ditch.
Well,
Ditch your receptionist.
Well, real quick, I'll tell you my personal experience with it. Like Taylor, when he first, he had just got off the phone with him, and he messed with it. I think for like 30 minutes, wasn't it? And then you sent me that phone number to try it out.
Yeah.
I called it and acted like that I was somebody that was looking to get my will or my trust done. And I threw all kinds of just off the wall, silly ass questions at it. And it fielded them like I was talking to Taylor. Like it was Taylor's voice and he named it Mike. And yeah. I feel it fielded the questions like it was an actual person. I had my lady call it and she was doing silly shit. I mean, she was like, hold on a minute. I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm busy, and like, she was just like, whatever, just like random shit. And it was just like, all right, I'll wait.
Oh my gosh.
It was insane.
Can you imagine the customer service that would solve too by like you can essentially have pissed off customers all day and not have a fed up person working
totally unemotional.
Right. That'd be huge.
But yeah, but imagine, like, I realize like the government now with like legal aid, they could provide an AI attorney robot basically that could help people with legal aid problems free, and it would know all the answers.
That's epic.
You could call it and be like, hey, I need to apply for Medicaid. I don't know how to do it. Can you help me? Yeah.
And they'd walk them through it.
Walk them through. I'll email you the form. Here, let me start walking you through how to fill it out. And then like, okay, line 1. Okay, that's where you put your name. Line 2, this is where you go through and you do this. Like that hurts my business. But
it could auto-populate a bunch of it for them.
Yep. Yeah.
So real quick, so I don't forget, what was the topic for the? I'm a little bit buzzed. What's the next topic for that? I'm gonna write it down.
We wanted to know. Okay, is it possible having this idea of a blockchain or preparedness where, hey,
emergency preparedness?
Yes, people willing to go, hey, if you will offer these services. I'll do this for you, you know, and like, but it's done through a blockchain technology. Like, could we pull that off? Well, how would it look? Like
blockchain, AI, and at the city level.
Well,
basically a disaster preparedness community network, blockchain based on a blockchain system that rewards people. You know, there's resources, there's, you know, kits and survival kind of you know, tools and necessities that could be exchanged in turn for education surrounding, you know, the topic or something like that.
Well, so I'm going to put emergency preparedness and leveraging blockchain AI at the micro level. So like, you know, the city level, county level, and, you know, basically how you can, you know, leverage those technologies to, you know, for emergency preparedness to ensure that, you know, you're not reliant on FEMA. You know, perfect example is Maui and, you know, the Southeast, you know, the Carolinas and, you know, Virginia, you know, West Virginia, all those places that are still waiting for help. You know, imagine if they had, you know, the, you know, AI, you know, looking at, you know, what are the bridges that need to be rebuilt first to give the max amount of accessibility for emergency services, you know, so they could be more efficient in their movements when the power grid's down and communications are at a minimum. You know, cell phone towers are down, you know, all those sorts of things. Comms is so important. So if you can get power back up and you have communication for, you know, collaboration and, you know, all those sorts of things, all these things are key. But all right,
you could do something. You could do something like, you know, somebody hosting ham radio how-to workshops offers 5 tokens in exchange for somebody that has off-grid supplies, purification kits, solar energy or panels or tools or resources, something like that, you know, I don't know, it's just a thought. But
no, I like where this is going. Let's brainstorm over the next week. Josh, me and you can talk a little bit, and from a prepper standpoint, and you know, Taylor can you know, chime in from, you know, kind of the more macro, you know, the city level. And yeah, let's see. I'll see if I can find somebody that's you know, a little more of a blockchain expert. Maybe I can get, you know, Drew on or something like that, and we can discuss that at a more, you know, in-depth level.
Yeah, cool.
Well, I appreciate both of you. I mean, we're about to get cut off, but I appreciate both of you. And honestly, this was a very productive episode, and I appreciate both of you being here.
Yeah, what's the name of your book, Taylor? When's that coming out?
What's that?
The name of Taylor's book that he's writing. When's that?
Yeah. What's the name of your book, Taylor? Did he just like get up and leave?
The end.
Oh, maybe he had to go to the bathroom or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to. I don't know if he has a name for the book yet. But I'll definitely put it out there. But yeah, we'll go ahead and end the stream, and then but Josh, go ahead and stay on real quick. I want to chat with you about the next episode.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Well, for all of you out there listening, thank you. We appreciate you, and yeah, like and share. You know, if you could, you know, please, you know, by all means, we don't monetize this. This is 100% entertainment. We just want to get, you know, good information out there. We're not here to make money. We're not here to, you know, do anything crazy. We're not trying to get rich off this. This is pure entertainment. So thank you all. Veteran Crypto out.